I'll tell you guys a funny story and a huge tip when you're trying to get invited to these hiring sessions. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by, spending some of your time today with me. I hope you guys are having a great day. And today's video is really going to be about the title. It's going to be about how I got into the railroad. How did I get my job? Some of you can kind of relate to what, how I got into the railroad. And yeah, we're just going to jump into it. Give you a little bit about myself, let you know who I am. What's going on, guys? Thank you for stopping by the channel. My name is Joey. I am a former conductor, or still technically a conductor for Norfolk Southern. I've been furloughed since March of 2019. Grew up in Alabama, central Alabama, Birmingham, Coleman area, and I never had any passion to work for the railroad. I've had family members that work, my cousins that work for the railroad. I've had friends that work for the railroad, and I never really drew an interest into it until I got older, later in my teens, my late teens, early 20s. But I was just a regular kid, man. I just went and played in the woods all the time. Of course, I'm a big gamer now. Like I said in my last videos, I have a Twitch channel and a YouTube gaming channel that I play on. If you're a Call of Duty fan or you have a Twitch account and you want to talk to me live, all that stuff will be linked down below. Feel free to come by, follow the channel. If you have any railroad questions, feel free to ask me. I can talk about this stuff all day long. But played in the woods, went to the creek, fished all the time growing up. Still fish a lot now, fish tournaments, bass tournaments. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I got into high school. As far as like my employment history and my knowledge history, when I got to high school, we had a electrical training program, which was residential and commercial. I took that for 2 years because I thought I wanted to be an electrician, because I always heard electricians make really good money, and graduate. I hated school. I really hated school. I felt like it was getting in the way of my goals and ambitions of what I wanted to do. It was wasting my time. And I eventually just dropped out. I dropped out my junior year, and I just wanted to go work. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to make money because I knew money was going to help me achieve my goals. And I dropped out, and I had my electrical knowledge, and so I went and worked for a company named Marathon Electric here in Birmingham, and I worked for them for, I think it was like 10 months or something like that. And of course, I was a kid. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and I wanted to make money, but then all of a sudden, I wanted to chase my ambition. So I started getting a little off track, or I should have been focusing on my job. I was focusing on other goals, which was YouTube. Believe it or not, back in 2007, 2008, I had a YouTube channel, and it did very well. But I wanted to do that, so of course I quit that job. Quit working from there, went to working for a contractor in the coal mines. You always hear about coal mines making really good money, and I didn't know if I'd like it. I was 19, didn't have any kids, I wasn't married. Let's give it a shot and see if I liked it. And it was a great job. I loved it. It was very fun, very dangerous, of course. You're underground, 3,000, 4,000 feet, depending on where you're at. 2,000 feet, doesn't matter. And for any of the coal mine guys, I worked on the longwall. We were a union contractor, and we helped set and pull the shields and build the cribs. And that's pretty much all I did. That's what I did in the mines. I worked with them for like 8 or 9 months, and then work got slow. And I don't know what that noise is. In their company. And at this time, I was 22. Yeah, I was 22. Still didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life. I just know I wanted to make money. That's it. I want to make money. I'm going to bounce around until I find something I really enjoy doing, and I'm going to stick with it. And that was my mindset. I didn't have any bills at the time, so I just took the opportunity to chase something or find something I really enjoy doing and stick with it. Because in my mind, and this isn't like me being cocky, but if it's something I really enjoy doing and I can set my mind to it and I become great at it, I don't care what it is. Together, and I was working for my buddy and his dad, and I had been with them for maybe 6 or 7 months, and I started applying. I had friends, I told you I had interest in the railroad in my early 20s. I had friends that worked for the railroad. I had one guy that worked for BNSF, and he did really well. I had one guy that worked for CSX as a bridge guy. He does really well. They were both older than me. They were both in their late 20s when I was in my early 20s, but they both did well, and they were lived by themselves, had their own houses, their own cars, toys, all that good stuff. And I was like, man, maybe I need to go work for the railroad. So Katie, uh, my wife, um, her sister's ex-husband now, her sister's husband then, was working for a company named Road and Rail, and they're a contractor at Mercedes plant, and they were hiring for a rail car prepper. And all you really do is you go through the rail cars, you clean them up, you replace the wheel chocks, any part that's broke, like the wheel locks and the wheel chocks. You replace those, hang them back on the wall in a certain order, clean the rail cars out real good, so that way when the loaders load the Mercedes rail cars up into the cars, all they have to do is jump out, chalk it up, and it's good to go. It's fast, efficient. They can load a lot of cars really fast. And so I went from doing that. I was there for 10 months, and within that 10 months, I found something I liked doing. I loved that job. It was fun. It was very hard and very, very long hours, but I loved it. And within 10 months, I had went from the new guy to the foreman, and we got into a little money debacle about pay raises and back pay, and I ended up calling the company TSI, which is Transportation Services Incorporated, and asked them one day if they were hiring, and the plant manager at the time was like, absolutely, we're hiring. Come on down for application, we'll get you a job, and you can start Monday. And I called them on a Thursday, and they were a rail car repair shop, and they strictly did with coal cars, the aluminum coal cars. The symbol that we worked on was JHMX, which is Miller's. I don't know what JH means, but MX is for Miller Steam Plant, and I think JH is just, I don't know, I guess the name of the person who owns them or who they leased them through. I have no idea. I went and worked for them, and that was one of those jobs that I loved. And sure, I got tired and stuff, but it was tearing apart a rail car and welding and running a torch and leading the line and getting a switch. I got my first time, I had some experience switching rail cars at Road and Rail. I got to help the switchman out when I could. And I had a little bit of experience, but I got to do a lot of it at TSI. Like I said, we replaced wheels, we replaced knuckles, we replaced draft gears, we replaced couplers, we replaced brake shoes, keepers, all kinds of these things that we replaced. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot at that job. And then switching, I got to switch with our engineer. His name was Kenny B, and he worked for NS for 10 years prior to being out here at TSI, where I was at before all this. And I learned a lot from Kenny B. He was a great engineer. Knew what he was doing. He could watch us from the top of the engine, make sure we was doing our job right. He had to babysit us for a little bit, at least me for a little bit, until I got my feet under me and kind of knew what was going on. But a great engineer, taught me a lot, and I took that knowledge over to Norfolk Southern. Now at this time, I stayed with this company for 2.5 years, 2.5 years, somewhere around there, and got into another money debacle. Pay raises were due around the year, and they didn't want to give them to us. And I had been busting my butt all year, and the plant manager simply said, we're not going to give raises out this year. We haven't made the money, which was baloney. Because me and the guy I worked with had a book of every rail car we touched. We knew exactly how much they made for every rail car we touched. And we knew they made money, but they didn't want to give us a raise. So at this point, I'm extremely pissed off. Morale's way down for the whole plant. There was only about 15 or 20 guys that worked at this plant, and all of us grew up together for the most part. We all went to elementary school. That's how far back we went. And our one of our bosses was one of my good friends growing up in the same school. We all went to school together. And he knew we was all pissed off. And there really wasn't nothing he could do about it because it wasn't his place. But that's when I started. I had been applying at Norfolk Southern for years. I went to plenty of hiring sessions, but they never would call me in for an interview. So I just kept applying, and finally I applied to the one in Florence, which is about 2 hours from where I live now, and I applied at the one in Birmingham. I applied for a conductor in Birmingham, I applied for a conductor in Florence, and I applied for a maintenance guy in Florence. First, I had an interview in conductor in Birmingham, which was next to the airport. Second, I had an interview for a conductor in Florence, and then the next day, I had an interview for a fireman oiler in Florence. And when I went back, that now I saw the same guy all 3 days. I can't remember his name, but he was the main HR guy. And when I went up to Florence, I interviewed with him, and he was like, "Hey, I just saw you, a couple days ago." I was like, "Yes, sir, that was me. I applied in Birmingham." And we interviewed, and I talked to the one of the train masters there, and told him my experience, and he seemed kind of happy with it, and I thought it went really well. And I left from there and went back home, and the next day drove right back up 2 hours to go interview for the maintenance job. And the guy, the main HR guy, told me, he was like, "I just see you yesterday?" And I was like, "Yes, sir. I applied for this one also, and y'all called me in." And he was like, "Oh, okay, good deal." And he's like, "I don't think you got picked, but I'm not sure." And when he kind of looked at me, he smiled and kind of grinned, and I was kind of let down. I was like kind of shook. I was like, "Man, that's discouraging." Like I said, I had already been to 6 hiring sessions and interviewed at 2 of them, which was the same week. And I left with my head held low that day, and got home and told my mom. I was like, maybe he was just messing with me. He was kind of chuckling whenever he told me that, and she said, "Yeah, maybe so." And sure enough, I got my email telling me that they offered me a position as a conductor in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And that's a funny story and a huge tip when you're trying to get invited to these hiring sessions. I went to the hiring session in Florence, and well, let me back up. Whenever you go to apply to be a conductor in anything on the railroad, whether it be NS or BN or CSX, I believe all have the same thing. But I'm just going to talk about NS. When you apply on the application, it'll say, do you use tobacco, and willingness to travel. Now, if you're trying to be a conductor, your willingness to travel needs to be 100%. And you need to put your tobacco use on no, whether you use it or not. Just quit dipping or smoking long enough to pass a drug test. And I don't even know if they test for that. I don't know if they see it. I don't know, because I just quit altogether. I dip, and every now and then now I've almost fully quit. But when I applied, I just completely quit for like a month until I got the interview. But and here's a story I'll tell you. It's pretty crazy. So I went in to Florence, sat down. The hiring session lasts about 7 or 8 hours. And I went in that morning and sat down. I had a can of dip in my back pocket, and I sat down, and we're sitting there having our, he's going in this whole spiel. I've heard it 5 other times. I heard it, the day or 2 days before. And I'm sitting there, and next thing you know, it's 9, 10 o'clock, and you want to have a recession, 15 minutes, get up, go pee, whatever, come back, sit down, we're going to keep on going. And so I'm just sitting there, and I never had to pee. I didn't want to get up and use the bathroom or anything, so I just sat there. And meanwhile, there was probably 100 of us in this room, and it's at a hotel room, or not a hotel room, but it's at a hotel in their like big giant conference room. And after he said the recession be back in 15 minutes, he gave us a time. It was like 10:45, be back at 11. I just sat there and pulled up my phone, texted Katie and all them, and was just talking to them for a second. Meanwhile, like 40 or 50 guys had got up and walked outside. Some of them was on their phone, some of them outside smoking cigarettes, some of them outside dipping, whatever the case may be. And those 2 guys sitting at the door, 2 of the HR guys sitting at the door. And the 50 minutes goes by, they come back in. I'm still sitting there, just whatever, twiddling my thumbs, just looking at all the bosses and stuff or whatever. I'm really just a sponge whenever I'm in there. And the main HR guy goes, we know which one of you guys just went up and went outside and smoked. And just for the record, every single one of y'all put no to tobacco use on here. So, be known, if you do this, do not go outside and smoke. Just tough it up. It's 8 hours. You can do it. If you want this job, do it. And I don't know if it's still like that, but I always knew always been told, if you put 100% willingness to travel, no to tobacco use, and you got a decent work history, you're going to get called in for a hiring session. Then the rest is up to psychological test and basic testing, which is really easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You know about my high school history. So I started school on September 14th, 2017, and that was in McDonough, Georgia, and this is where I've learned all this stuff that I'm trying to share with you guys. But so yeah, I got to Norfolk Southern, stayed in Florence for just over a year, and decided to try and come back home. And they told us whenever we hired in at Florence that if you try and transfer, they're going to tell you no. I was having family issues, and I needed to get back home to be here for my kids, and that's where the transfer came from. It's called a hardship transfer. And they approved my transfer to Birmingham. Now, whenever you do a transfer like this, at least in Norfolk Southern, you give up your seniority in Florence and you start over when you get to Birmingham. So Norfolk Southern gave me a 4-day notice to get moved. I had been waiting. I knew it was going to get approved. I just didn't know when. I got a phone call on a Tuesday, and from our superintendent, I can't remember his name. He called me and he said, "Hey, your last day here is Friday," and he hung up. And I was sitting on a train on A02, no, A12 out of Florence, if anybody knows anything. I was sitting on A12, sitting at Robertson Junction Yard. He called me. And so yeah, I had 4 days to get moved, so I marked off sick for the rest of the week, packed up my crap, found an apartment to get moved into as fast as possible. I'm down in Birmingham, took off down here, got moved in, started in Birmingham Yard training Monday. And so I gave up my seniority. I started over, and they were still hiring people at the time, and they had temporary transfers come in when I was coming in, so they were really busy. So I was kind of hopeful, but I knew I was starting over, and I knew there was a huge chance to getting laid off because of PSR, precision scheduling railroading, which I'll make a video about this also. And so I took the chance. Don't regret it. And sure enough, I transferred in October 2018. Got laid off March 16th of 2019. I've been laid off since. So I hope this guys gave you a little insight into my life and how I got into the railroad. If you have any questions, please ask below. I respond to every single question I can. And thank you guys for all the support. Recent subscribers, I keep growing every single day. I think we're almost up to 160, which is awesome. Thank you. And thank you for the likes and the comments and all that stuff. And like I said, if you have a Twitch account and you're a gamer like I am, you feel free to stop by Twitch and talk to me in person live. I'll answer your questions. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys. I look forward to the comments, and like I said, be sure and subscribe if you liked the video, if you got any value out of this. If you want to see more content, I'm gonna have more, and I'm gonna try and post as often as I can between working 4 days on, 4 days off, having 2 kids, fishing tournaments, all this good stuff. I'll try to make as many videos as possible to help you guys out. So anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of y'all's week. I know it's just getting started on a Monday, but this right here sets the tone for the rest of the week. So have a good day, have a good evening, good night shift, all you guys, and y'all be safe, and I will see you guys on the next one.